Hello, good morning everyone. I am Saurabh and I am your trainer for performance testing and I am on behalf of Uplatz. So basically, as of our previous class, we were looking on the different types of test and we deep dived on load test. And now I think you might have a better clarity on load test and when we do a load test and how do we do a load test. As I have already shown you basic production data and on the scenario like the ramp up, steady state and ramp down, and even I took a scenario on Flipkart as well. So if you still have any kind of doubt, go and watch the previous session to have a better clarity on the types of test. So without wasting much time, let's get started. And today's agenda is we'll be focusing on the remaining types of test like stress test, soak test, and many more if the time permits. So let's get started. So basically, we will be looking on stress test today. So what exactly a stress test is? So this all type of test are non-functional test. As of now, you are performing a non-functional test. Means you will be gathering all the non-functional requirements. So basically, we can derive it like stress test is a type of non-functional test. What basically we do, we verify the performance of an application. So stress test is a type of non-functional test where we verify the performance of an application or any software under what condition. So stress test we perform under futuristic load. Means normally we gather a load for peak load, and normally suppose we gathered the for the load test, we gathered around 1,000 users we need to perform for a test, load test. But when we compare with stress test, we want to perform a breakdown like as of our current year, what is the maximum amount of users it is supporting in the application, like without any application crash or application breakdown. So let's suppose 1,000 is the number of high peak number of users. So as of now, I am considering for a old application. So let's calculate. It might be 130%, 150%, or 170%. So just let me calculate 170% of 1,000 users. So it is around 1,700 users we need to see, and we must achieve some amount like higher through TPS also. Suppose we are achieving around for 50 TPS, then we approximately for 1,700 users the TPS will also rise. So accordingly, so we'll just look into it. Let's see. Stress test. Okay. So basically now, what is stress test? It is a NFT, non-functional test. Okay, so it is a non-functional test. Next point, what did I tell you? Like we perform under futuristic load, future load, and what we need to do? Verify whether the application, verify the performance of the application software under what load? Future load. So our main objective is this: we perform our. We want to know how much the amount of users supporting currently, like what is the breakdown of the application for the number of users. Suppose I took an example for Flipkart as of our yesterday's like last session, and I told you that during the big billion day there was a application crash. Means uh, after it reached the maximum limit of the users, the maximum amount of users logged into the Flipkart site, or are they are active on the Flipkart site, until like we got the threshold value. We want to get the threshold value for what? Basically for users, threshold value of the users. So normally number of users are always more compared to load test. Okay. Normally this number of users are always more compared to load test, as we take around, suppose suppose if it is a new application, we consider peak load as the future load. But but when it comes to old application, but when it comes to old application, we go for some percentage increase in peak load. Let's take an example. Let's example. So I'll just basically tell you an example. Later I can show you in the tool as well. So for a better idea, let's see. We have we got we got our peak load in during NFR gathering. Let's say that we got our peak load during NFR gathering. Let's estimate peak load for load test is around is 1,000 users, and for stress test client conforms with increased percentage the peak load. Let's suppose 100% is 1,000 users. Suppose let's take 130%. 1,300 users. 150%. 1,500 users. Or 170%. Okay, let's see. We have calculated the percentage. Depending on the client, how much percentage he wants to perform his application to undergoes the number of users, and to know the breakdown gradually we will increase the number of user with some steps breakdown. That one also I'll show you in scenario. I'll just open the scenario and design it so that you'll get a better picture of this thing. Let's see. Okay, I will just open it. So before going into the scenario, let's see, like, we'll get our data according to the historical data, which I already discussed in our last class, and we confirmed that our peak load is 920. So what I am changing 920 to 1,000. So our peak load for the month is 1,000. Suppose for year we are considering like this. Let's say I will convert the same thing year from 2001. Let's take this is 2021, and we want to estimate for 2022. Let's see, this is the data we have, and this is the number of active users. So active users, normally what is happening, each and every time number of active users. So let's see, for the first year the application is only supporting 500 users. So gradually they are increasing by 700 users year. Every year there is an increase in steadily. So by the end of 2021, we could see that 4,700 users are currently active, and the application support around 4,700. So let's estimate 2022. Also, it will be 5,200. 5,200. Let's see. Let's make into a graph. So let's see. We can see number of active users. So this is here. Gradually, there is an increase in steady growth. So we are expecting around 5,000. So let's see. We don't expect around this thing. So as of now, my client want to go for percentage. So I have the maximum amount for 7,000. So 120%. Let's see if it is 150% of 4,700. So around we have a increase in 7050. So let's consider this for next year until 7,050 users. It the application architecture will be supporting. There won't be any application breakdown unless and until it spike more than this thing. So let's see our application is supporting 7,050 users, and if it is coming more than that, like 7,051 users, then the application might crash. And this is what we took 150%, 150%. So now let's see. We when we wanted to test this thing, we won't test in a. We will design in a gradual fashion, and which I will be covering this in the next while I'll be working on this uh, scenario. So as of now, just consider this normal pattern will be on this basis. Let's not see like simulate the same thing. I will just try to simulate few users only. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Suppose 100 users. Oh, okay. Let's see. We will gradually increase on this fashion. 20 users and stop every users. 5 users. And now, oh, sorry for the background noise. Okay. And now we will add a duration. Okay, so normally we when we want to see like 1700 users, we perform on this fashion. Like we ramp up some users, and then we run for steady state, and then we ramp up few users and run for steady state. Gradually we increase till 1700. We don't push all the users at a time, because server might crash if because initially it might not expect a huge amount of users performing or are active on the application. So gradually this step fashion it will increase, and this ramp down. So this fashion, until we see that in our application there is crash or anything, like it is not performing, then we stop the test, so that we can confirm the expire. This is the amount, maximum amount of users our application perform. So even I will take a snapping. So let's see. We confirmed. So we got this kind of fashion. We found, like, just take an example. I haven't demonstrated any kind of a stress test or something, so it's an example. So so we have calculated 15 when we saw that 4700 users were peak load considered peak load for the scenario. Okay, consider. So we got around 5600 users need to support. So let's see, 7,050 users considered for stress test. So this is our expectation. So gradually we will increase, and we'll see like our application is supporting 7,050 users or not. And if our application is derived or designed in that particular fashion, then definitely our stress test will also be successful, and we'll get this amount of expectation user. Unless it support this amount of users, and it falls or break down in before some users like 6500, then we should report to the client that as of our application architecture, we are getting a maximum users of 6500. So this is the maximum an application can support during peak hours or a peak time. So now coming to, like, we have also seen this fashion. there is an increase in number of active users. So, uh, and so what is the purpose of stress test? Purpose of stress test. So first, basically, we need to identify the application can handle future load. Future load.